Let's drive, you legends. We're rolling up to meet the boys. It's an overcast day. Low temperatures, probably about 21 Celsius, thereabouts. 21 to 22, something like that. It's 73 degrees. We got, the rains have finally arrived. Beautiful rain yesterday. My grass was dancing, was happy. Yeah, you know, they love the rain. Nothing beats the rain. You can water to all you want, but once rain comes, the grass gets a different color, a darker green. They're happier. So rainwater is best. Like I said in the past, rain is not bad weather. It may be more challenging than a fair day, but try living without rain. Not gonna happen. Ask the people in California. They'll let you know. We got runners coming up here. So we're going to meet the boys, and we're gonna get a chunk of clips for you all, because it's gonna be like a interesting ride. I don't know where we're going right now. There is no official plan. They ride about 3 hours, so should be pretty good.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rode into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR, headed down Fish Creek. Just nice and steady. I mean, it was really, really good, and that's why I kind of wanted to focus on how you can help your crew. Everybody was taking their poles. We went into Onier. We filmed until we got past Taco Corner on 149 there. Then the camera the battery went out. So we rode all the way up 149 and took Bethel Road back to 1097. Which brought us back to Montgomery, and we went to Taco Corner to refill, then headed back. We took 105, went down to Fish Creek, McCaleb Road, which turns into Fish Creek, kind of backtracked. It was a very, very good ride, just steady for the most part. A few accelerations, you know, I think you would love the clips that we put together for you all, but the focus was mainly, if you can help the group, go ahead and take your poles. We're on the open road, the FM2978 Fishcreek Thoroughfare. Headed north. The boys are up the road. Mike Barrera, I think Darren. We just turned the corner, so I'm steadily riding the rest of the group up to their wheel. They're waiting for us. We're almost on their wheel right now. It was supposed to be an overcast day, so I did not wear my arm sleeves, but as you can see, it's clearing up already. So our weather folks were off. So we're back together, and we're gonna just resume. My week did not go as planned as far as training wise, so I had far fewer rides than normal. So I wasn't sure how my body was gonna feel, but it felt pretty good. I got the ride on Thursday for a bit in the morning, and I think I did a ride on Tuesday also. Usually I try to ride Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those 3 days. Different intensities, different kinds of efforts. We had an okay turnout. There were some chatter on our board, the GroupMe board, where we learned that there are 100 people that are signed up on the Team RR app. And somebody said we have 100 people signed up, you only get 20 because Mike Barrera had said that somebody had posted a ride, and I don't know if it was Mike or whoever, somebody posted a ride and did not say how many miles. Yeah, Mike Barrera said we don't do anything by miles, you know, it's time and intensity. And then he said that we will put you in harm's way, meaning that we're not going to take it easy. So it was basically, I'm sure he was messing around, but it was interesting that other people started chiming in saying, well, that's a good way to run people off from the group. by posting a ride without a plan, without saying how many miles they're going to commit to. And I could not stop laughing. There is no commitment. You come to a ride and let's say they're doing 50 miles and you want to do 20, you just turn around. You don't have to do what they're doing, you know. It says you come and do what you feel like doing. It's not a job. So I just laughed. I read the banter. Mike was like, no more party bus, you know. And I believe it had an effect because on this ride, we had more people taking their pulls than just sitting in. You know, there's nothing wrong with sitting in if you're not able to handle the pace, but then don't sit in and then start sprinting up the hill or coming around people. You know, you guys see that on these films. So if you can't handle the pace and you're gonna sit in the whole time, that's fine. But you get tagged as a wheel sucker when all you do is sit in and wait for sprints and city limit signs to show your face. This is not a road race. In a road race, nobody would let you sit on their wheel till you got to the finish line. They would attack you if you didn't want to work with them. They would find a way to make you get your nose in the wind. So that's no tactic. It's a group ride, you know. So, but it was good that Mike mentioned that last week where he said that's the party bus. So he mentioned it again. He said there'll be no more party bus. Your legs may hurt, and we're gonna make sure you're tired, but you gotta get out there and take your pulls. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Well, it had an effect because I noticed more people coming through and taking their pulls. Those who are able to. So yeah, you need to help the group you're riding with. There's a guy at the bike barn. His name is Kurt. He's the manager. They're owned by Trek now, a local shop in our area. But basically, we used to go to their rides to visit. Those of you who've been here for a while, you've seen the visits at the bike barn rides. And one of the rides, he said, if you can help the group, it is only fair that you go ahead and come through and take your pulls. That's the whole point of coming out to the group rides. So, you know, I've always liked the way he put it that day. What he was saying basically is, if you can't hold the pace, we understand. But if you can, it's just fair that you do your fair share. That's the whole point. You get stronger anyway. It's not going to get strong sitting in the back the whole time. It's a slight little grade here, nothing major, but you'll feel it. We're riding about 22, 23 miles per hour. The consistent with what Mike Barrera was saying on the board is, don't worry so much about how many miles you travel. You know, we get a lot of people asking Paul and I, oh, you all doing 100 miles today or whatever. We don't know. We don't know whether 6 hours that day in the terrain will give us 100. We don't know. We just have a block of time that we're going to, you know, give to the sport that day. And whatever the mileage ends up being, you know, and those of you who follow us on Strava, you'll see some of the rides where we do 98 miles and we're done. And someone had mentioned, why didn't you just finish it out 100? Well, 100 wasn't the goal. And the goal was however many hours we had. You know, we can do 100 miles. It's not a goal. That's not what it is. So what Mike was saying was focus on time and intensity. That's what your body knows. Your body doesn't care how much you travel. What it cares about is how hard you've worked and for how long. That's what's important. That's all the body knows. The body does not care how expensive your bike is or how cheap it is. All the body knows is you're working in this zone for this long. I left my trainer skewers on the bike. If you look at the bike here, you see the silver skewer. That's the skewer that comes with the Super Magneto Pro trainer. A lot of trainers have skewers that they ship with them. They're not the lightest, but I don't care. It's convenient for me because this week we had a lot of rain and I was busy. I had other things that needed attending to, so I didn't get out on the road as much as I usually do. So I did some workouts indoors, and that's why I put that wheel on there and just stayed on there. So they're not my lightest wheels, but I don't care. This is now Alpe d'Huez or whatever. We're not doing a mountain climb here. It's not that big a deal. It makes me work a little harder too, so that's a plus for me. So don't get too hung up on equipment. Don't spend so much money on equipment to where you don't have time to work out because you're working so much to pay for the equipment you bought. And don't be like these guys with their $20,000 time trial frame doing 15 miles an hour because they're out of shape. And can't benefit from the aerodynamics because they're not going fast enough. We have quite a few in our area. That's the watering, the sprinkler system here. They need to check that. It's just a waste. We had rains this week. Look at the grass. The grass just looked greener today. Mike Barrera mentioned that. Those are the kind of things I notice. No matter how much you water, it's the natural rain that the grass thrives best on. I've had to let my yard grow a little long because once it gets wet like that, I can't put that tractor on it. It just leaves ruts in there. And you really should not be cutting your grass when it's wet. You know, it's just a bad idea. It sticks to the deck of your lawnmower, and it basically is bad for the grass because you rip them out of the yard. So Mike has gotten to the front and he's going ahead and taking his pull. So everybody's kind of pulling through. Pedro is in front of me right now. Paul's behind me. I think that was Darren that was pulling. So he's done. He's gone to the back. And so this way the group continues to move. You can see we're doing 26 miles an hour. Let's say 25 and a half miles an hour. I'm in zone 2, sitting in close, keeping my cadence respectable. But this is what happens when the group rides steadily or whatever. So in a little while, a few kilometers, we'll kind of mix it up a bit. But we still continue to ride after that. But the attacking stuff is fun and everything. But I think it really does not keep the group together or moving, steadily. So you got to keep that in mind. So if you attack, you better make sure you got more. That's Paul Meyer on the right there. That's what I was telling Paul. There's Paul Meyer up there. I leave the gear heavy. I leave the bike in a heavy gear to kind of change the feel of what I'm doing right here. Because normally I would downshift a stand. I just left it in there. I'm trying to pushing my legs a little bit before I have to take a pull. So whenever you're off your normal training schedule, it's hard to know how your body's going to feel. Because you really don't have anything to gauge it by. If your week didn't go as planned, sometimes you end up riding great. Sometimes you have dead legs because you have so many days off, that kind of stuff. So that's what's so unpredictable about it. But I felt good on this ride. I stand here because it just feels good. I use a slightly heavier gear. We're going past Ridge Lake Shores. It's a small little rise. So Mike pulls off the front. Pedro takes over.
Good job, man. Yes, sir.
So if you notice when Mike pulled off, he didn't go all the way by the middle line, all of that. He used like half the lane. You want to stay as close to the riders behind you as possible when you pull off, because you still have the responsibility to protect them as they come through. So as he was drifting back, we had a little bit of protection, especially if there's a lot of wind from the side, like a crosswind situation. But you don't need to go way over because then you got to come back. All of that takes energy. So you only move far enough away from the line to give them enough room to come by. And you do it smoothly like he did instead of swinging to the side. Everything should be smooth. So Pedro pulls off. I go through. I think I shifted up because a second ago I was spinning a high cadence and now I'm closer to 85 or 90. I'm trying to get those straps to lay down, the Velcro straps. So instead of stopping my pedaling, I just slapped them. You should be able to do little things like that, like, you know, like the black mark on the socks. They give a nice contrast. And when Paul and I were warming up, mine was off center. And so he said, oh, when we stop, make sure you adjust that. I just adjusted it while we're riding. You should be able to do things like that. You know, reach for your bottle. I mean, I know I've seen cyclists that have to stop to drink. You shouldn't have to stop to drink. You have to practice those things. There's a certain amount of things you should be able to do while you're riding. And it's hard to do if your bike does not fit you. I mean, we carry a camera all day long on these rides. I mean, when we're done filming, we put it in our pocket, but you should be able to carry a camera. You should be able to, you know, hold your phone if you wanted to film something while you're riding. You should be able to hold that phone in your hand. You know, I've done videos where I used my phone and just turned it, you know, to where it was a selfie position, and I filmed myself talking about certain topics, you know, for example, like cramping and different things I've done videos with. You should be able to do stuff like that. And of course, you pick a quiet course to do that on. This is the little bump before the overpass. It says 2%. You feel it because it's nice and long. It's a good length. I mean, look at it, the distance. We're going up between 2 and 3%. So since the overpass is coming up, you have to measure your effort. I basically shifted down as we approached when this thing kicked in because I'm thinking about future efforts. This is not the last effort you're going to be doing. I'm unzipping my jersey. It's a little warm. Nice, leveled off, and we're approaching the overpass. I will shift up to a harder gear, trying to maintain a steady rhythm. And here comes Champoussin again. He likes to do this. So right here, I go ahead and just accelerate and get on his wheel. I lift my pace a bit. So it's the same guy with last week in the video. He didn't want to take his pull, but when I started to climb, then he came around again. So with all of that in the database, in a few kilometers, I'm going to make him pay. That's the thing about cycling in a group. People don't forget. They'll remember your bike or whatever it is. It's like if you just sit in all right and start doing stuff, they'll remember. Not that he does. He pulls, you know, but it's kind of annoying that every time the road goes up and someone is pulling, he wants to change the pace. So I decided in about probably 5 kilometers, I said, let's really change the pace. And then he didn't want much to do with that. He didn't want to go that hard, I guess. It's funny. So you don't need to say a whole lot when you're riding. Just talk with your legs. So I'm just sitting on him. You come up here, you're going to be in the wind. I will take the shelter. So all the riding that Paul and I did over the years, all those wet rides and cold rides that you all saw videos of, all of that has contributed to our fitness. So it takes a lot of work to hit the higher zones. That's why you train. I let him know there's a car back. I had seen the car in my mirror, but I wanted to confirm the distance. There's 2 of them, I believe. So I told him to stay where he is, and then now it's clear. There's cars up, so we're gonna wait. And then as we turn, another car comes up, because that's like a blind spot. There's a little hill there on McCaleb there. So we have to wait for the guys, because not everybody made that turn, because those cars were too close. And Dan's gonna let me know. He said the guy's cutting the road, so I just turn off the power here. Now, in a little bit, there's a little dog acting tough in the middle of the road, like he's some kind of sheriff or something. You'll see. He's sitting there. Gotta be a girl dog. I don't know. These girls are troublesome. They just like to act tough. I don't think a boy would just stand in the road like that. But that's me. The girls are territorial. I'm just playing. But you'll see the dog in a little bit. I'm like, get off the road, little man. You know, he's sitting there looking at me like, what are you doing here? It's right about, I think we start to go up this little bump here. And that's a blind spot he's standing in. And he's short. Look like a little chihuahua. Right there. And you can't trust him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. I think he's some kind of tough guy. Paul laughing. Paul said behave or something like that, or go home. I think Paul said go home. You know, I was like, he's just standing there looking like, what are you guys doing here in the middle of the road? Like he's got a lane marker or something. He lives in one of the houses, you know, of course, left and right. There are nothing but homes out here. So those are the things that we come across. Some of them are aggressive. They're running the roads and so forth. But he's just standing there like, we're in his way, you know. Like Saturday morning, he's out getting some fresh air, I guess. You're gonna hear Mike ask me if I want to get behind Darren, because you get a great draft off of Darren. I'm just sitting on the side right now. I got a little bit of a draft, but I'm not in the line on purpose, because we're descending, and I tend to move really fast when I'm behind somebody, and I don't want to brake. So I'm letting the wind slow me down here.
You want in behind the armchair?
He said, how do you want in behind the armchair? What he means by that is you get behind a guy like Darren, you're going to really be fresh when it's time for you to pull. He's a big guy punching a lot of wind out of the way. He said he will take Darren in a team time trial. So that's what I was talking about last week. Mike likes to chat during the rides, and it's like it can be a little disconcerting for the rest of the people who are struggling that we're able to talk, you know. So I try not to talk. You know, I may nod or just say one or two things. Yeah, yeah, the grass is greener after our rains. You can tell the difference. They're just saying happy. I don't know what he's talking about there. So yeah, I try not to do a lot of talking, even though I can, because I don't want other people to feel bad. It's like these guys are working hard. And one day we were riding, Mo started to sing. We were on, it wasn't in, I don't know, we were on a 1097 a long time ago. Mo was singing, and I'm in there, I'm working. And Mo starts to sing. I looked at him like, oh man. But you know, but that's the whole reason you train. If you can sing in a pace line, yeah, you're in some good shape. Oh man, that's funny. So as you get fitter, yeah, you can be working harder and still be able to talk because your threshold, your ceiling is higher. And that's the motivation for you to stay with it and go on those rides that are not too exciting, you know, by yourself, because you got to stick with the plan, you know. There are days when you don't want to get out, but those are the things that get us out the door. To build that fitness, that's what gets us out of the. Plus, riding the bike is fun anyway. But that adds to it. It adds to the impetus to get you out there, knowing that you can achieve some great fitness. So Dan was pulling and Dan's done. And we're going to roll through. And somebody is lifting the pace up there. I'm not sure who's there. I think it might be Chris. So that's like I was saying, everybody was going through today. So whatever Mike Barrera said last week and posted on the board, yeah, it had an effect. No more party bus. If you can do the work, go through. I don't care how short. Just go through, take your cuts, get off. Because this keeps the group moving. So now remember what I said earlier. Like those of you who saw the video, I think it was a couple of weeks ago when Dan was trying to get the king of the mountain, the KOM, and I said, that's mine, and I jumped away. Well, this is different. I'm not pulling, but Shempusan always likes to increase the pace on uphills. You know, he's one of these little guys that doesn't have to put out that many watts. So he likes to do that to push himself. It's nothing personal. But for me, it was like, okay, when he goes here in a little bit, I believe that Chris is in front. Chris is still pulling when he goes. In that instant, I decided, okay, I'm going to go harder than he's going, and let's see if he increases his pace even further. But he didn't want to do that. so you'll see how it develops. So at this point, I'm not thinking about that because I don't know he's going to do anything. You know, he's way back here. But he comes, sometimes he'll come from the back of the group. He just likes to push on hills. That's what he does. So nothing's wrong with it. When I'm pulling and he comes and he does that, you saw back there, I let him stay up there and take the lead. You're going to come to the front and you need to stay there for a bit. You're strong enough to come from the back and attack the hill. You can pull the group for a bit. So we start to go up. I like this climb. It's about 3.5% and it's long. It's, good length. It's an honest climb. So he starts to go. I see it. You can see my body language. Look at the watts. I started to put more power in the pedals. I did not shift. I did not change gears. So I stand. I said, okay, I'm just going to, right there I made the decision to play around. And I go across the yellow line on purpose. I want to give him a wheel. And Mike Barrera sees all of that. You know, he sees it all. And so he's riding up. He's going to go around him, go around Shempusan, and get him. At this point, I backed up the power a bit. I did not want to ride off the front. And I'm just going to stay there and continue pulling. But these guys have to work to get to us. But I just wanted him to know, you keep raising the pace. We'll keep raising the pace until we're going full gas. I was thinking that he was going to come back around. Right there, you saw me coast for a bit. Now the road's going up. It's a shorter bump. You can see the watts, about 400 watts. And I just decided I'm going to just sit there and go ahead and drive the pace for a bit. And you see Mike is on my wheel. So now Shempusan is still sitting in the wind, but we're climbing, so it's not that significant. The aerodynamics is not that critical right now. It's going to level off, go down, we're going to turn right. I'm shifting through the gears. You see the watts dropping because we're going downhill. I'm shifting through the gears. I'm still pedaling. Mike moves to the left because he wants to carry that momentum. Yeah, if you work hard to gain the momentum, you got to keep it. I turn and I'm going to stand. You see the watts? 500 and some watts. That's why Mike went to the left, so he didn't have to work as hard because he had that momentum already. So if you're not paying attention and you're following this situation, you'll have to work hard to get back on the wheels. In a little bit, I think Paul would turn the camera around. You will see some gaps. to the rest of the people. I'm still pedaling. I'm just gonna drive for a while, and then in about maybe a kilometer, I'm gonna just pull off and then Mike will take over. So we just lifted the pace a bit. We're doing about 27 miles an hour, 26, 27 or so. And there's a car coming, so we'll call car up. I move to the right of the road because sometimes in this corner, people will cut corners because you have a good line of sight. So you always want to call car up or car back. Car up means there's a car up ahead. So riders are aware something else is coming. When I made that move back there and went across the yellow line, since I was standing, I could see over the hill, and I had already checked my mirror, so I knew there was nothing there. And I didn't stay there very long. Just enough to get around him, give him some room, and then zigzag and moved over to the right side of the road. I flicked my elbow, and Mike Barrera takes over. I'm looking down at the gaps right there. You see me looking down? I'm looking at the road, and I can tell that the gap is big enough for me to slip in, and so I just take that wheel. Paul left the gap for me. So you don't have to look back, just look down. You'll be able to see. You look down and use your peripheral vision. There's a bunch of patina on that road, that little blips where the pavement sinks. That's what I was pointing at. And those you don't see very well, you feel them more than anything. I don't like those because they always surprise you. But we're familiar with them. See the gaps? Those guys are working harder unnecessarily. They should be closer. So there's a car coming that's going to be turning right towards us. And all of that, so we just slow down. I stay close, and look at the watts are going to go up. Almost 500 watts because we're accelerating after the corner. Now the people back there with gaps, they're going to have to work harder to get up to us. So when you stay in the back, you got to be really vigilant. That's Mary and them. Mary and David. I greeted Mary. Mary is one of our customers. Mary had come to the studio for a bike fit, and she really loves the way her bike feels now. She went out to Colorado. She sent pictures, and she was like, I love the way my bike feels. Thank you so much for the fit. I like to get that kind of feedback. You know, any kind of feedback that lets me know how the fit went. But basically, I fit people to where you're comfortable in the studio. There's no riding into comfort. You need to be comfortable instantly as the changes are being done, if it's being done correctly. I think I'm sitting on John's wheel here because Mike Barrera has pulled off. So after that corner, Darren came around Paul. I like this road, mill route. Today's Sunday, I rode it by myself. There weren't even any dogs out or anything because, you know, we have a lot of rain now, and I welcome it. But the rain was coming like later in the morning, so I went out early and got my ride in solo. I didn't want to deal with any group contingencies. I want to get it in and get back early. And I did this road. It was nice. Just kind of going through the motions and paying attention to the undulations and how my legs felt. I didn't ride it hard, just comfortably. Let's put it that way. But it was nice to come through here by myself and just enjoy the solitude. You always see riders when you head out. I saw Abby, he was headed in the opposite direction on Honya, Egypt. And then at the end of the ride, I saw James. James announced that his back was still hurting. Apparently, he said his back hurts. Mike. I like this road because it levels off, but every corner goes up. So if you look at the grade, it says 3%. So that's what you're dealing with, between 3.5%. So you get those repeats. So by the time you go through here, you've got a decent amount of work that you've put in. Because it's going to go down and then it will kick up again in a little bit. I think I take the lead here. Yeah, John pulled up. There's a car, so I tell him to get back. Yeah. So he got back and now he's going to drift back. That's another reason you call car up and as well as car back if you're in the back, for the people up front, so they can know not to pull off. When you say car back, that means this is not the best time to pull off. So when he pulled off, we had a blind corner. I was leading, so I saw the car and I told him, get back in the line, there's a car up. And he did that just momentarily. So all I'm doing here is keeping my cadence comfortable. I'm not worried about speed. I'm focusing more on the effort. You can see the watts, and you can see we're only doing 22K. Well, it says 25K. So, but 320 something watts, 22K. That's about what? 14, 15 miles an hour. Because it's breezy and we're going up. But look at these guys all over the road. They should be in a tighter line than that. So they're working harder. But we're not going that hard right now, I guess. But still, 300 something watts on that little 3%er or whatever it was. You're working. You see Mike's chatting again. He's chatting with Shempusan. So we're going downhill now. We went over that little 3% bump. We're going towards 2854 and we're going to go north. And in every group, there will be a small percentage of riders that will be at the front often. That's kind of normal. Some riders like to just do more work, or they're fitter or whatever. That's fine. If you're one of those that's not as strong, if you get an opportunity to get up there, don't feel like you got to try to match how long the stronger riders were up there for. Pay attention to how you feel, because when you get off that pole, you need to have enough left in the tank to get back in line, stay with the group, and to even handle any kind of changes in pace that may occur. So don't stay up there till you get tired. Tell them there's a car coming when I turn. That's why I get on the shoulder so people can know not to swing out into the road. So I move to the end and I wave Darren up. I see the gap, I get on his wheel. I take the first available wheel so I'm not sitting in the wind waiting for other people to catch up. Because of what happened back there, because of the car, there was a bit of a delay in everybody getting on 2854. So you got to make sure that you always try to get into shelter as soon as you can, so you save your energy. That's why I said don't pull till you're tired. More. I may have mentioned it on another video. Mo was telling me one time, he said that Jerry had been pulling on one of the rides with the Sun and Ski boys in the Woodlands area. And Jerry was pulling, and the speeds kept going from like 20 to 19 to 18 and so forth, just going down. He kept riding slower and slower, so they attacked him. And then later that ride, I met, because I was with them, I had to let them go. They were riding so fast. And later in the same ride, I saw Jerry, and I said, hey man, I saw you with Group A. He said, oh, they were too fast for me today. And that's what he meant. So then later on the same morning, Mo and I saw Jerry, and then they talked about it. And Mo was telling him, this was what was going on. So when you get to the front, don't stay there till you're going slower and slower, because what you're announcing to everybody is, I don't have it today. They don't need to know that. So if you're going to pull for 10 seconds at, say, like a good pace, do that and get off the front and get back in there, instead of staying there till you're dying, because you make yourself more vulnerable to attacks. Because it's a ride, anything can happen. Somebody else feeling good, they might just lift the pace. So we're doing about 23 miles an hour. It's a slight grade. It says 1%. Light breeze. But this is a drag. It's one of these what they call ninja grades. We call them false flat. But you're basically grinding uphill for an extended period. So you've got to find a rhythm. I treat this kind of like a mountain climb per se, where I want to stay 75 to 95, something like that. That's the range. I just find a gear that would allow me to do that without bogging down. And then sometimes you have to pedal outside of the range that I just gave. If you're riding with riders that are constantly changing the pace in this situation, it behooves you to stay in a slightly smaller ratio and spin it, as opposed to wearing out your muscles by continually shifting through the gears to try to deal with changes in pace. You stress your lungs, which can recover faster than your muscular system. We're about to crest this climb here. Right about here, it levels off. And I'm going to shift through the gears. I like to shift timely. I don't like to wait. I don't like to be behind. I don't like to find out, oh, I've spun out this gear and then look for another one. As soon as I start to spin out the gear, it's time to shift up. Don't wait till you've spun it out, or don't wait till you're bogged down already. That's when you have noisy shifts, when you bog down trying to look for something smaller on the load. I don't pedal here because we're going downhill. Darren's a big guy and I'm just trying to avoid being sucked into his wheel. So I stay on one side of him. And the road has leveled off a bit. You can hear that wind. I just sit behind Darren. There's a light coming in the distance. He's doing fine. I don't follow Shimpa-san. He always does that. That effort is going nowhere. Clément Shimpa-san. Azaguijer, Citron La Mondiale team. The AG2R team. And they have similar characteristics. That was a perfect name that Mo picked for John. Very gritty rider, Clément Shimpa-san. If you guys haven't seen him, he's a character. He may not be the most talented, but he's got a big heart. Clément Shimpa-san. So we approach this light. I believe this light is kind of long.
Man, the grass is growing so fast and green. I can hear it from here.
That's Mike Barrera from San Diego, California.
Going to Bailey or Taco?
That's Dan. Dan the man.
These guys are killers. I'm telling you, go all the way up to Bailey with them.
You can do it.
Huh?
You can do it.
Good man, Dan.
That's James telling Dan he can do it. Dan doesn't want to go into the forest with us. He calls us killers. So he's going to stop at Taco. Now, once we get through the light, knowing that he's stopping at Taco, he's going to take the lead and try to force the pace. I'm like, man, we just sit in.
Things going on.
Off-bike activities.
Yeah.
So Mike was talking about us doing more get-togethers off the bike.
There you go. Set it up, Dan.
There you go, Dan. Right now.
Boom.
Dan just volunteered.
Dan was saying that the Kirby Ice House just reopened. We could do that as an off-bike activity. So we have the green. We rode through the intersection. Whenever the road has a lot of patina, I always stand. It just really saves your wheels. I don't have to mess with my wheels often. This is Lone Star Parkway. This is a good day to ride it because I believe the wind is kind of cross tailwind. In the winter, when we come out here and that thing's blowing from the north, you can see it's exposed. You get pounded on this climb. It's just a gradual drag, but it's long. It's at least 1.5 kilometers, maybe. And Dan has gone to the front. He's lifting the pace. I just stay in the same gear and spin it. We're going to be going straight. He's going to turn towards Taco. See, Mike behind me is carrying a higher cadence than I am. I'm close to 90. Mike is at least 100. Whatever gear I'm in feels good, so I just stay in it. I don't predetermine. I don't pre-plan what cadence I'm gonna ride because your feel would change from point to point during the ride. Darren let Dan ride off the front. That's Dan up there. We're going to catch up to him, but Darren didn't want to expend too much energy knowing that Dan just announced that he's going to Taco and going back home. We're going into the forest for at least another hour beyond Taco, and we're going to stop at Taco on the way back in. So he did not want to raise the effort that Dan was doing. And so Darren just let him ride off. And now Darren is pulling us back to Dan. But Dan backed off. He couldn't sustain his effort. So if you're feeling good and you go with somebody who, let's say, can't sustain the effort, and they back off and you're feeling good, just go ahead and pull through and continue what they were doing. Even if you end up riding alone. So we're gonna go straight through here. That's the road to Taco Corner on the right here. Dan and Mike S5 are going there. Mike S5 was riding with Mary and them when we passed them on Mill Route. And then he latched onto the back of our group. So he did not start with us. I'm putting my glasses back on. It's been really muggy and they were fogging up on me. Darren's done pulling. So early in the ride, really, it was mostly Mike, myself, Darren, and John, who was sitting on the left there. He's asking me where we're going. I told him we're doing 149 into the forest. So this is the reason we like to come north. You're constantly dealing with 3%ers, sometimes 5%ers, but they repeat, especially on roads like Bailey Grove or on 149 where we're going to be going up into the forest here. You get a good workout without trying to consciously push yourself all the time. So that's Highway 149. Downtown Montgomery, Texas is to the left. Maybe a kilometer and a half. There's a hill. And you get into downtown. We're going to go right. This road eventually takes you to Richards in the direction we're going. There's a hole there that dropped asphalt and they didn't do a good job of patching it. So a huge dip even with the asphalt that dropped. So all of this area here are somewhat residential. I mean, this is a highway going through, but to the left, they got houses and school. They got a little school there that we're gonna go by. The intersection we're coming to the right, you can take that road. That's 1097. It will take you to Taco. If you continue, it will take you to Mount Pleasant, which takes you into the forest. It's the eastern piece of 1097.
On the left there, there was a bill that was like displayed.
Green up. Go back. I'm back.
I'm not sure why Pedro is in the middle of the road over there, but if he was that car back, he's taking his time to come over. It's a busy highway, so we come through here, we try to stay on the white line as much as possible. Makes it easier for them to come around. In a few kilometers, we'll get a nice shoulder. This is in town. For some reason, we don't have shoulders in town. But when we get outside of Montgomery, downtown Montgomery, we have shoulders. So the county is Montgomery, Texas. The town is called Montgomery that we're in right now. We're on the outskirts of downtown. I'm not sure why Pedro went up there because he didn't stay there for any appreciable amount of time. They just waste a lot of energy doing stuff that doesn't make sense. Then when they get dropped, they want you to wait for them. You should have just stayed in the back. You don't get any points for that. No point in going to the front for 2 seconds. Just stay in the back. There's nothing wrong with just following. If that's all you can do. You can see the road going up. We used to drive out here, Paul and myself, to the park that we're going to pass in a little bit called West Montgomery Park. So right about here, we get a shoulder. Right there. The shoulder is nice and wide, and so we'll go ahead and we start to use it. Mike wanted to jump those little ripples. I just get across real quickly and swing my rear wheel. I don't like to lift. I don't like to disturb my bike by lifting it too much off the pavement. Mike's grabbing a drink. About every 15 minutes or so, especially in warm weather, we take a drink. In the winter, it's harder to make, you have to make yourself drink. I end up not drinking enough, which is not very good for your body. When you exercise as long as we do, you have to drink. I sit on John's wheel. I'm just waiting for him to let me know when he's done. I try to stay very close. You can see my heart rate's been going down. It's gone down probably about 9 beats or so. The terrain got a little favorable. Now it's going up again. We're out of town now. You have fewer cars passing you. So by sitting close, you can see my heart rate continues to drop. And so the object here is that when John is done pulling, I'm going to pull through to keep the group moving, help the group forward. And that's Mike's plan too. When I pull off, he'll be rested enough to where he can go ahead and get to the front. That's why you can't leave gaps. The gaps cost you. There's some debris. That's what John was dodging. I saw that I had enough room to avoid getting on the road, so I just stayed and just kind of used my line. You can see I'm coasting. There's no watts, no RPMs, and I'm staying a little to the right so the wind can slow me down. I'm staying on either side of it. The road's going up here. It's 3%, 4%. That's why we like coming this way. Kicks up. Get a chance to keep the pressure on. We got a lot of motorcyclists out here because these roads are quiet. It's beautiful. They're curvy. So they come out here to enjoy it. So John is done pulling. I go through. I keep the effort close to what he was doing. And the way you do that is when you're riding, you should be able to tell whether you're going as fast as you can go, 50%, 25%, so forth. So right now I'm going 2 out of 5, let's say. And that's where I'm going to keep it. So, you know, when you're sitting behind a rider, you can tell how hard you're working. And so when he's done, you want to go maybe just slightly harder. So I was in zone 1 behind him. I'm going to make sure I stay in zone 2 when I get to the front. This is the pace we usually hold for our longest rides. That car blew because I believe there's a vehicle behind us. That guy, he was probably encroaching over the yellow line because they're not patient. And some, you know, he didn't want to pass us very close, but then you can't just move over into oncoming traffic. You have to wait till it's safe to pass. But for some people, that concept eludes them. Everything must happen now. It's like they're in a hurry to get themselves killed or hurt. You know, make no sense. There's nothing you late for that's that critical. That's Chris. That's why I don't like this position. Even though he gets a good shot, they always want to wave at the camera. Ride your bike. You know, so I like to take shots where they don't know the camera's filming them. This part of the road is a challenge. You can see it says 4%. Look at my watts, 3 something. I'm trying to keep it about 400 or a little under there, because anything higher than that, the group will split up. I'm in a small chain ring, and whatever gear I'm in is right to keep me in that zone as far as I'm not going full gas, probably right at sweet spot right now, yeah. You got to really temper it to where everybody's getting a good workout, but they're not going to quit. So it's hard when you're at the front to really gauge your effort all the time. It's not easy. That's why you can't do it by speed. I like to do it by feel. It's a good effort. We're doing 28K, which is about 17 miles an hour or so, almost 18. But that's not what I'm gauging it by. I'm gauging it by the feel of the effort, the gear that I'm in. You know, and because I plan on sitting there for I plan like 5 minutes, then I will pull off. The group's not very big. And we got a long way before we get to Bethel. I want to take a long pull. This allows me to get a good workout without feeling the need to change the pace later or whatever. The shoulder is nice and clean for the most part on this road. We got some debris from fallen trees and different things that we come across, but they're easily avoided. Then some driveways have crushed rock, gravel, and stuff that washes onto the shoulders. So we look for those as well. But the idea is that if you can and you're riding with a group, take your cuts. And if you're one of the stronger riders in the group, take longer pulls at a lower pace so that everybody else can hang on. So you keep the group together. This road is mostly uphill. I'm on the tops because I breathe easier, because we're not going that fast for aerodynamics to play a main part, you know, doing 17, 18 miles an hour. But it's between 1 and 3%. It says 3% now. So that's 3 to 4%. It's common in this direction anyway. In both directions. You can see the road. It's all wavy. But I like this direction. And then there's a 7%er on Bethel once we get in the forest itself. This is all part of the Sam Houston National Forest. These trees are not kept here by accident. They're protected. I look to see it's clear, and I let Mike Pereira come through to take his cut. That's how you do it. That's how you help your group. Everybody does a bit of the work. That's the beauty of being in a cycling group, working in the pace line. So Mike comes through. Effort is similar, and we're just, this is a 3% climb, and we're moving along. I'm sitting in the back. You can see my watts are down. But when you're climbing, the aerodynamics are not that big of a factor. It's more of a matter of pacing, and it helps to have somebody pace you up a climb, you know. So just keep that in mind on your next ride. Ride with the group if you can help. Get to the front, take your cuts. Don't stay too long so that you can last, so your mates won't have to wait for you. So remember, get your K's in, and no matter what, keep those doctors far.